it's Preacher! Following on from our On The Spot video, the loose series that we started recently, a lot of people contacted me with various things, basically falling into two categories. One, I'm that guy who got kicked, and that sucks. What should I do about it? And the other one was, I have to kick people! Yeah, it's a weird conundrum, isn't it? Both sides don't like it at all, and yet it has to be done. And it does. It has to be done. Ultimately, if you're going from a 25-man team that you had in Mists of Pandaria, then you're going to a 20-man team in Mythic, and most of you are starting to see the people disappear. Week on week, there's less and less people showing up for that first raid, and then you're like, where's that guy? Oh, he left. Did he? Yeah, he's gone now. He was here for a long time, and now he's gone. There's not really any footage that's relevant to this, so enjoy me goofing around in my Windwalker as I start doing a little bit of practice. I'm sure you'll find many flaws. Enjoy. So, let's talk about the one where you got kicked. People take getting kicked very, very differently. And a lot of people act like real bitches about it, honestly. And I don't want you to be those guys, because you should take a lesson from it. Of course, sometimes you get kicked. It does happen, and you didn't see it coming. You had no warning, which is something we're going to lead to in the guild leader, raid leader role that we'll do next. And you're like, okay, you got kicked, and maybe you get an in-game mail, or you have to whisper somebody. There's nothing worse. I imagine. It's never happened to me, but I can imagine one day logging in with no guild and having to whisper the guild and be like, why am I not in the guild anymore? And it's like, oh, okay, yeah, we dropped you from the raid team. Bye, you're kicked. And that's just awful, because you don't know why you were kicked. There's nothing worse. It's like getting fired from a job and you don't know why. What happened here? A bad breakup. Yeah? Why did she leave me? What was it about? Was it my small penis? Because, my mum said it was fine. What? And, it's all these situations. I don't know what the hell happened here. What to do. First thing you should do is take a good look at yourself a little bit as a player, and don't be a total fucking rage bitch about it. My God. So many people go on rampages and start lying as well, which I find really crazy. I've had the unfortunate position many times through World of Warcraft of removing people from guilds. Yes, I've had to do it as a guild master and raid leader. It falls to me. Sometimes it was in anger. Somebody repeatedly either just talk shit, wouldn't follow the rules, blah, 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 and ultimately it gets to the boiling point. It's like, just fuck off and get out of here completely. And when that happens, it kind of sucks. But people who I've had to remove because they were just not up to the standard we were currently raiding at, guilds progress. Right? Some progress and some regress. And that happens. Sometimes your guild just seems to get worse and you're confused by it. And that's when people start leaving to go to greener pastures. And most of the time, guilds actually get better. And when guilds get better and raid sizes get diminished, you might find that your previous level of play is no longer up to the standard. Players have got better in general across the whole of the game, which means players in your guild, as they gain more experience, are also becoming better players. And then harder content arrives, and suddenly you're just left standing because you rested on your laurels. Worst thing you can do, which is why the On The Spot series exists, is rest on your laurels and be like, I'm safe, I've been with these guys forever, it's going to be okay. If you do get kicked, you should have a look at what happened. Check your logs. First and foremost, check your logs. If you're not used to doing that, check your logs. Were you consistently lower than other people of the same class? That's always an issue. Are you the worst player of that class in terms of, say, damage and healing output, or even tanking? Look at other people. Are you consistently the worst in your World of Logs ranking or Warcraft logs, whatever you use? Are you very, very low? Are you like below the 90th percentile or whatever guild status you're currently aiming at? Are you just not up to the standard? If you look at a guild log, let's say Warcraft logs, and most of your guild is in the 90th percentile and you're consistently in the 80s, yeah, you're not performing. It's as simple as that. Sometimes you need to accept the fact that you sucked for a bit. You sucked for too long. That's the simple answer. You sucked for too long. And you can do a couple of things about it. You can either pick up your fucking bags and go on a hissy fit and turn to PvP, as so many do. They do. You find a lot of those guys used to be PvEers and it went wrong and suddenly they ended up in Asheran building a little house. And you can go that way if you want, but I recommend you take a look at what went wrong and start improving on it and look towards another guild. Just say I didn't make the Mythic team and look for a guild that's a little bit behind of where your previous guild was. Maybe that guild's more suited to you. A place where you can grow, a place where you can work on things and then bounce back. Little story is I was always in top sets in my school. My school broke the students up into intellectual sort of gradings, into groups. And I was always in number one. I was always consistently number one, but I definitely got sloppy at some point in my mathematics and was dropped to number 2 for a total of 3 months. Was that the kick up the arse I needed? Yes, absolutely. I demolished group 2, team 2. I was team 2 maths is where I was. I was team 2 maths and bounced back within 3 months and was back into the top set. And the guy pulled me aside, the teacher. I mean, we were about 16 at this time, so we weren't kids, and said, you were better than what you were doing. It's as simple as that. You were a better mathematician than you were performing in school, and therefore you needed to kick up the arse because you kind of strolled in, accepting the fact that you would always be Team 1, and therefore you weren't performing up to Team 1 standards. As simple as that. And that's what happens. So trust me when I say going into a mad rage and looking blindly and trying to come up with all sorts of excuses is never going to pay off whatsoever, because the other side of the coin is the raid leader. You've got to kick people. Has to happen. You're dropping a team from 25 to 20. You need to funnel gear into the 20 people you want in progress. And that's an issue. That is an issue because as fair as you want to be, and most raid leaders are, you want people to feel welcome because they're probably your friends. You probably raided Siege of Orgrimmar with them for over a year, some people, and you want them in your team. You don't really want to kick them, but you started doing Mythic and suddenly people started to stand out a little bit, whereas they could get away with being a little bit sloppy in some of the easier Siege of Orgrimmar fights, or in fact could get away with being carried inside the Siege of Orgrimmar or whatever it might have been. Suddenly they get the Blade Rush on Kargath and they're dying. Yeah, those are those guys. Suddenly you ask them to do a flamethrower on Brackenspore and they're just not doing it. And you try and explain it to them and they're not doing it. And while you're doing this with those guys, you have Johnny Acefingers sat outside the raid who you would rather have in the raid and giving gear to him, who he now has no chance of getting any because he's not in the raid. And then the issues start. As a raid leader, there's a couple of things you need to be aware of when you're going to remove people. One, give them a warning. Every single time. Give them a warning. I honestly consider people who just like, yeah, I've had enough, you're gone, and randomly kick people in the middle of a raid or whatever to be complete bitches. Honestly, I think you're a bit of a pussy, and you're trying to avoid the issue that you knew was coming for probably a little while. You know who your bad players are. Every single one of you raid leaders knows who they are, and you need to give them a warning. You need to give them the chance, first of all, and if they're failing, you need to give them a warning saying, this isn't good enough. Please pick up this slack, otherwise, you might lose your raid spot. And a simple comment like that, and they might react badly. It's like, look, this is the way it is. We have people who are doing this and performing better, and therefore you need to pick up your slack because you shouldn't be dying to these things. A comment that was made recently is High Maul is extremely well designed. Most of it is about mechanics, not gear. Although there were some DPS checks in week 1, that's because most people were undergeared or just geared, and simple as that. And then what we saw is that now most guilds are overgeared thanks to follower missions providing more loot from bosses that you haven't even killed yet, and so on and so on. But these people are overgeared and it's down to mechanics. More than ever is raiding down to mechanics. And if you're not dealing with mechanics and somebody else is, yeah, your raid spot's on the line. As a raid leader, you're going to have to deal with this situation. And the easiest way to take the weight off your shoulders instead of having it as a big pressure is, one, give a warning. And you need someone to come for at least a couple of raids. You do. You need to give them the chance. If they're failing, give them the warning. If they come back and it's still not improved, then you can say, look, I'm dropping you from the raid team. This isn't working out. You've not improved. I've warned you about this. It's 2 or 3 raids is more than enough to see people show some sign of improvement. And if it's not there, you don't need an excuse. That's the thing. A lot of raid leaders look for excuses, and people out there are like, I don't want to have this confrontational situation. I need an excuse to get out of it. Same as people who are like calling sick to work, despite you can mostly call most off at workplaces and say, look, this has happened and I need to take a day. It's as simple as that. Life got in the way and I need to do some stuff. Most businesses will be happy that you aren't a lying bastard, honestly. Some places won't, but most places of a mature nature will be fine with you saying, I need a personal day, shit's gone down, and they will be okay with that. As a raid leader, ease yourself. Don't let situations build up. And don't let bad players keep turning up, because it's important that you deal with this in an appropriate way. For a number of reasons. If you just randomly kick somebody and like, fuck off, get out of my guild, you piece of shit, you fucking suck, then the rest of your raiders take notice of that. Now, some of them will laugh, but others will go, fucking hell, can we just get kicked randomly? That will be in their minds, like, we're just going to get kicked someday? I mean, that puts people with, like, this extra pressure on them all the time of potentially failing mean just a random kick. Jesus Christ, I don't want that to happen. While other people are like, yeah, fuck off, that guy sucked. Well, they are comfortable in their spot. Others are going to be thinking, I thought I was okay. I thought I was doing fine, but maybe not. I don't know what's going on here. And also, it creates a bad taste with your good raiders if you don't deal with it. Yeah, it can be worse to let friends stick around. A lot worse. We've seen countless examples on Drama Time of people who have let bad players stick around. And if your guild's wiping or having to carry someone, or they feel like they're having to carry someone, even though that boss is dying, they're not going to be happy. Your better players are going to start thinking to themselves, why aren't we dealing with this situation? And that's when the whispers start. You know the fucking whispers, raid leaders. Those guys who whisper in the middle of raids, like, why are we dealing with this? Can't we replace this guy? All these questions. What's going on? And then ultimately when you hit that wall where you need everybody to perform, and there's a lot of that in Warlords of Draenor where everybody has to know their role and do it right, that's when you're going to be like, you know what? You're not dealing with this situation. I've lost confidence in you and as a raid leader. You're not dealing with the things that need dealing with in order for us to kill this boss. And ultimately, I'm taking time out of my day to come here and kill this boss. A few wipes I'm used to. I'm aware of what level our guild raids at. But now we're starting to bring people while there's good people on the bench just so you don't have to deal with kicking them. You have to ease it in. If you get kicked, take it on the chin. Unless it was random and the guy was a dick and you don't know what's going on, then fair enough. Just move on to somewhere else. Don't wuss out and disappear because that was the only guild for you. Just happened to be the guild you joined. It's as simple as that. It just happened to be the guild you were a part of. There are a lot more. And there are spaces. There are available spaces. If you're a raid leader, fuck's sake, don't let things build up. Don't let things build up and talk about it with your raid. Please openly suggest to people that they need to improve. That lets the other raiders know that if there is a problem, you're going to raise it. You're not going to have private little conversations in the back streets. It doesn't create a downer in your raid if you're like, you need to pick that up. There's this big fear that calling someone out means that you have to call them out like, fuck you, you suck. Well, instead, it's just like, you need to pick up the slack here. Okay, you've repeatedly failed to this. Please do it. You've repeatedly died to this mechanic. You've repeatedly stood in an exploding mushroom. You've repeatedly done this. You've repeatedly fucked up moving in and out on the butcher. You've repeatedly died to fucking blade carve or whatever shit it's called. You've repeatedly died to pulverize, blah, 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 blah. You're taking all the blaze in the world on the Ogron. Can't have that. If you call it out in public, people will be safe in the knowledge that if there is a problem, they're going to get called out in public. And that's all right. Because being called out is part of the raid game. And people being afraid of that, maybe you don't want them around anyway. Alright guys, some thoughts to the questions that have been answered to me there. I hope that helps those guys out who are in those situations. Please don't give up and run off with the tail between your legs if you do happen to be the guy who got left out of the 20-man. It's going to be alright. Just pick up your game a little bit. That's alright. You just need to get a little bit better more than likely. That's alright. Don't make up stuff. The amount of people I've kicked after giving them multiple tries and warnings who've said, God, you didn't even give me a chance. Don't be that guy. Don't be that guy. He's like, God, I only joined for 5 raids. Yeah, 5 raids is more than enough after being warned. Honestly, it is. Alright, guys. See you later. Bye-bye.